listening to the White Wall Sessions Radio.
Welcome to the White Wall Sessions Radio. I'm your host, Dan Schaefer. On this week's episode, we feature General B and the Wiz, Granola, and Jeffrey Foucault. Find us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Twitter by searching The White Wall Sessions. We are now accepting submissions for Season 7. To submit, go to whitewallsessions.com. The White Wall Sessions would like to thank these fine sponsors for their support. Last Stop CD Shop, Bell Incorporated, Workplace IT Management, J. Rick Luthery, The University Center, Screenflare, The Pink Moon Room, Club David, Great Outdoor Store, local branded convenience stores, Minuteman Press, Vishnu Bunny Tattoo and Piercing, and South Dakota Friends of Traditional Music. General B and the Wiz is a hard band to label. Their high-energy music will make you laugh, dance, and just listen. Most of the band comes from very musical environments with heavy jazz influences. Members of General B and the Wiz are Quincy Voris, lead vocals, Seth Doohan, guitar, Kyle Holder, drums, Kai Brewster, guitar, and Kevin Coffenor on bass.
This one's called Hold Up.
Night.
officially called Chevy.
We're here at the White Wall Sessions with General B and the Wiz. Welcome, guys.
Thank you.
This has been a fun session. You guys are a really lively, great band. Quincy, can you introduce the guys?
Sure. So, to my left is Kevin Kokenauer. He plays bass guitar for General B and the Wiz. And then there's Seth Doohan. Myself, I'm Quincy. Seth Doohan plays guitar. Quincy Voris plays the vocals.
Killing it, man.
Kyle Holder, he does the drums. Frank plays the keys. And Kai Brewster is the other guitarist.
All for General B and the Wiz. Let's be clear.
This is General B and the Wiz we're talking about right now.
Keep going.
All right, well, thank you.
And you are from Minneapolis, Minnesota, the great city of Minneapolis, the Twin Cities.
That's correct. Yes.
How long has this lineup been together?
This particular lineup, a year with Frank.
With Frank, yeah.
Frank joined us a year ago, and then Kyle joined us 5 years ago.
Yeah.
But we started this project, Seth and I, 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
9 years
9 years ago, yeah.
And then quickly added Kai and Kevin once we got things rolling. So, yeah.
Well, the musicianship in this band is really, really something. I mean, there's space for everybody, and everyone's taking as much as they can out of that space. It's really, really cool.
Thank you. Yeah.
How do you divvy out those spaces, or do you just find them when you're practicing?
We write together, all in the room, kind of banging our heads together and seeing what we can find. A lot of it is just that playing together for a really long time. Like they said, you start to know how people are going to move and play and what sort of choices they're going to make. And then you can kind of make your own choices around that.
And it's actually something that we're kind of constantly working on, is making sure that there is space for everybody to play what they want to play and what also fits. So
what they hear.
It's a conscious effort to make sure that there is space for everyone.
Is that hard to do with this band, or is it find pretty easy?
We have a tendency to overcomplicate things and then go, let's step back. And so like we kind of like flex as much as we can in the writing process, and then we just want to pull back and be like, what actually sounds good?
But at the same time, we're such good friends. We spend how many hours a week together? It's
too many.
Yeah, but it's a natural thing to like throw out some criticism and throw out some tips and work through that. And I think it's just the way that we play off of each other works so well. We make it happen, even if it takes a little bit longer.
Sure.
But, I think the coolest part about this band is it's never been this is my song, this is how you guys are going to play it. It's, oh, hey, check out these chords. They go together well. Or like, dude, check out this riff. Or Frank's got an awesome piano part or something. And then a song will evolve from that.
Really?
And it's the only band I've ever been in where it's been like a very collaborative and fun. It just makes writing like very fun.
The music sort of comes first, and then the lyrics and the idea of the song, or does it go?
Yeah, I would say most of the time. But Quincy, he comes with. We're working on a song right now that he pretty much had, the foundation ready to go, and he had his words ready, and he had some progressions ready, and we just kind of built on that. And things change, and it ebbs and flows as we go. Every now and then that'll happen where one of us will come with some sort of idea that we want to really build off of.
Sure.
Yeah, like for instance, Screw, the first song that we played tonight, I kind of thought of the melody and the parts on a bike ride, and then I think I sat down with you at the coffee table like right as I had that idea fresh, and then you helped work on the riff.
And then we made like a super complicated riff that was like fun for the two of us, and then we brought it to the band, and then it was like, oh, this is way too this sounds cool. And
so it's we bring whatever we got right at the time, and we record it. Voice memos are great. We can do so much with like our smartphones and whatnot, and just like kind of pass around ideas. So we like to record what we're actively working on and shop it around.
So if you picture a scale of complexity of songs from Ramones to Rush, let's say, fairly simple. Where do you all think you start and end up, or do you usually start in one place and stay there?
I'd say about an 8.
Between Rush and Ramones, we're at an 8.
Super helpful.
If you want to do a band, obviously, like I can attest this because I've been in the band the least,
You're more of an outside perspective.
Indeed, I was a fan of the band that then conned my way into joining the band. And the thing that's always driven home was the level of musicianship of 70s rock stuff like Led Zeppelin, where it's like these things that are really hard driving, but when you actually go and dissect them, they're these really complex melodic and harmonic and even rhythmic ideas. Like meter-wise, there's all these songs that have these like interesting breaks and stuff like that. So it's not like proggy. I think it's just that that sort of 70s rock feel that is requires a lot of technical virtuosity, but also is really approachable for just a regular person in the audience who just thinks the song rocks.
Yeah, there's a delicate balance there between, super musicianship, because that's all they had. They didn't really have a lot of effects or, computer wizardry. They had to just really play it. But to be able to deliver it to people who like it, that's tough. Speaking of sort of that 70s era, Quincy, a front man.
Okay.
You think of your legendary front men, your Daltrey and Jagger and Plant and those. That role can have a lot of pressure, and it's a really important role. Well, how do you approach that? Or do you just do what you want to do and it follows you?
I mean, like, when General B and the Wiz started, it was just Seth and I playing acoustic guitars in our dorm room, playing Tenacious D songs, to be honest, and just doing like Jack Black, not the other
white,
the white one.
Not there yet.
Like we would play music and just have fun with it, and like I think that sort of like play has been just like a super liberating thing.
No, we're not gonna do that.
Coming up after the break, Granola.
You are listening to the White Wall Sessions Radio.
Granola is a talented group of young musicians from Sioux Falls, South Dakota that have certainly made a name for themselves locally. The band met at a local rock and roll academy while still in middle school. They continued to play through high school and just released their first full-length record, Pleasureland. Granola is Connor Engberg, guitar and vocals, Parker Brown, bass and vocals, Amberly Koopman, piano, synth, vocals and percussion, and Jackson Ashlock on drums.
Eyes blue, I do too. A sea of green, come take me. Where the boats come and go. What they need's the seaweed. I cannot breathe. The water's taking me in the deep blue sea. I cannot breathe, but it's my home. I don't feel alone. I'm the seaweed. It has taken me, and where it sways, I go that way. I cannot breathe. The water's taking me in the deep blue sea. I cannot breathe.
There's a being under the sea. We don't know what he does except for control us. And there's only one word that we use to describe him, and that's the seaweed.
I cannot breathe. The water's taking me in the deep blue sea. I cannot breathe. I'm the seaweed. It has taken me, and where it's way, I go that way. Awesome. Thank you very much.
Welcome to the White Wall Sessions, Granola.
Thank you.
This was a fantastic band. You are a young band from Sioux Falls, South Dakota. How long have you been together?
Okay. This is a tough question. We've been playing together for like 3 years now, just as friends, jamming out. We didn't take it seriously. We didn't start actually writing our own music and playing around till about this time last year. So,
Okay.
yeah. So it's been a very busy year. Yeah.
and that was Connor Engberg on guitar and vocals. And we've got Parker Brown on bass and vocal and toms a little bit. Amberly Koopman on keys and vocals. and we have Jackson Ashlock on drums.
Yep.
So tell me about the style of music you're playing, because it's really interesting. I mean, coming out of young kids like you, there's all kinds of stuff that older generations are hearing. I'm hearing Lou Reed. I'm hearing all kinds of music. So where does that come from?
Yeah. Well, it's a mesh. We call ourselves a blues funk rock band, almost kind of psychedelic almost. They like to use the term like a granola, like a hippie, a drugless hippie.
There you go. So a mixture of all kinds.
I don't really know what to tell people when they ask us what kind of music we are. We all have a lot of influences. I've been listening to all sorts of music for since I was able to buy music. So I just kind of write songs based off of what I like to listen to, and I like to try something different every time I write something.
So you write most of the songs?
Yeah.
Okay. When you're writing those, first of all, do you write them on a guitar, or how do they come to you?
Writing, I go a lot. I try a lot of different things. A lot of times, I sit down on a guitar. I listen to a lot of folk music, so I used to write a lot of more folk songs, and then maybe kind of translate them. A lot of times, sometimes I just start out with the lyrics. Sometimes start out with the guitar, like for the sake of like Treble Clef Tattoo. I kind of had two different songs written, and the guitar part, the lyrics, and they somehow work together. So I mixed them, and then sometimes I do it on piano. Piano is probably the easiest for me, just because I can come up with better chord changes than I usually can on guitar. But
so when you write it, do you hear the final product, or is that when the rest of the band comes in and they really start shaping the song?
See, I don't hear the final product until the studio, because a lot of times I write songs in the intent to, this is what I want to do with it, this is what I want to record with it. But when we play live, it's nothing like I kind of imagined. So really in the studio, that's where we come into our full potential of like what I can add in. So I've been really enjoying the studio time that we've been having. So,
sure.
Yeah.
So Parker, tell me how when you all start playing, do you just kind of feel a groove and just start going with it and seeing where the music takes you?
It's actually kind of wild, because half the time Connor will just come up with like a chord progression or whatever, and like we're at practice and it's like we're done with practice, but we just jam, and we get a groove going, and then Connor just puts words to it. And it's actually kind of funny, because some of the songs that we've written have like put 10 minutes into it, and then it just works. So, and that's a great aspect of this band, honestly. Like we all gel together really well, and we're all willing to like put our own piece into the music. We're not afraid to do that.
So so some songs take a while to get there, right? I mean, when you're just jamming and you say, "Oh, remember what you did there, because that was really good."
Yeah.
How do your parts come in, Amberly? Do they just same way as Parker's?
Basically, I just kind of like wait for them all to get their parts figured out, and then because I really have to hear like what chords they're playing, we kind of don't really have that established right away. Wait a little bit, and then I throw a part in and play with it, and it doesn't really sound good at first, but once I figure out what I'm doing, it gets there.
So does the song start almost writing itself the more you play it, or do you have to really craft it?
It just morphs over time, honestly. Like some of our songs are completely different. Like I don't even know if you could call them the same name. Like when we first we just recently wrote a song that we had 4 ideas, so we wrote a song essentially with 4 songs in it. It has like a ballad, it's a funk piece, it's a rock piece, and then it's a jam at the end, of course. So like Connor's like, "Okay guys, I got an 8-minute song for you. It's 4 songs in one song." And it's like, when we put this on the album, whenever it's gonna, the producer is not gonna like it.
I couldn't decide.
So let's talk about the studio. How many, you have one single or EP or?
Yep, we have one single out right now for the album. Yep, so it's gonna be a 10-song album. The whole thing is pretty much kept up by one song that we're just finishing off, because we tried it and we didn't like it, so we just scrapped the whole thing and trying it over. So
when you're recording this album, are you just taking the 10 best songs you're doing, or are you trying to write sort of for this collection?
Well, that's the sad part, because we've been in the studio for like a year now, and in that time we've been writing music, and it's like, wow, like the Fairies, like that one we just played, that's not on the album, but we wrote that like a few months ago, and like everyone really likes that. We want to put it on the album, but we can't. So we write all this other music, and it's like, oh, we got to finish the first album, you know?
You know, we're writing songs faster than we can record them. Yeah. So we got a song for the next album and the next album. So.
Yeah, for this album, it's called Pleasureland, because what we're going for is this, you know, is a sexy word, so we wanted it to be a sexy album. So we kind of picked our sexiest, funkiest songs to put together, and that's, you know, why we kind of... So it's kind of this ironic, satirical album, because, I mean, we're not just, like, bleeding sexy as a band, so... so we're kind of going for this ironic thing. I mean...
So... The studio versus live. When you go into the studio, do you sort of turn on the mics and play, or do you really do a lot of dubbing and working through the studio?
I mean,
definitely planned.
Yeah.
Some live is planned.
Yeah.
Some of it kind of comes through jam sessions through a studio, but not very often though. But we kind of walk in there with an idea, and we can say, "Oh, we can add some sounds here and there," and kind of layer it. And
do your songs ever change when you play them live, and you know the crowd reacts to them, and they alter a little, or are they kind of staying the same?
We do have a song called Yogurt, which some of you are probably familiar. And that song is
Granola
like
yogurt?
Yeah. That song is all about like in the audience. Like even Jackson and I will get off stage and dance with the audience. So yeah, it sounds great in the studio. We just heard it. It sounds amazing, but it loses that aspect, you know.
Girl looking for fame. In his profession he was find it out by the time he had a bank account. Decided to follow his dreams and farm. Come on, Elaine, there can't be no harm. California plays for dreams for an artichoke farmer, so it seems. But the decision was too bold, and Elaine was acting cold. Miss them all, my family and friends. Elaine said this must come to an end. Tired of this angry talk, Nathaniel went out, went for a walk. Walking down the old gravel road, just the sound of a distant toad when a light shined down on him. Looked like something out of a film. The station coming down, then on three legs. Looked like shaped like a dag. A door opened, released like smoke. Something came out, something spoke. Five on each side, hog in the middle, sneered inside. And this is what they said. Green's opinions, eaters with the pigs from Venus.
Come to save you from all of your pain.
Give us your wife, the sweet Elaine. He's a pizza top drummer through and through, not some lame pre-med fool. Yeah, that was something. Thank you.
Coming up after the break, Jeffrey Foucault.
You are listening to the White Wall Sessions Radio.
Jeffrey Foucault and his amazing band graced the White Wall studio for a memorable evening on the brink of his newest release, Blood Brothers.
And anything in the high mids you can take down to neutral or below it.
Foucault was accompanied by White Wall veterans Dusty Hart. Molly Dean and Barbara Jean's vocals and fiddle added to an already incredible night. The band was Jeffrey Foucault, guitar and vocals, Billy Conway, drums, Eric Hayward, pedal steel and guitar, Jeremy Curtis on bass, Molly Dean on vocals, and Barbara Jean on fiddle and vocals.
To the dashes with the windows open, so the dirt from under your nails, pour a double and put a record on the table. The light's always perfect, but just before it fades, bow your head down when you break bread together. Close your eyes and make a circle of hands. There is nothing that cannot be taken from you in this life. We just hold on to the love that we have. Swing the axe in the hour before daylight. Note the sparks that attend to the blade. A thing made free of itself leaps apart, and the heart divided would do just the same. Take the back roads with nobody on them. Find a river and make yourself clean. Go down to water if you would be delivered of sinner and sin, seen and unseen. Step outside and let the stars reel around you. Cup your hand around a bright flame. In that darkness, let the heavens confound you. It's all just a story, even the sound of your name. Oh, thank you.
We'd like to welcome Jeffrey Foucault here to the White Wall Sessions. Welcome, Jeffrey.
Thank you for having me in. Yeah.
This was a wonderful session.
Mm.
Can you tell us about these fine musicians you had playing with you today?
Oh, man, I could tell you so much. I'll try to choose. I first heard Eric Haywood. I guess I probably first heard him on the first couple Sunvolt records, a band that came out of the band Uncle Tupelo, which was a real influential band in the early 90s, what they called the alt country scene. And then the first time I saw him was in a club in Madison, Wisconsin that has since burned down. That's what happens to clubs in Madison, Wisconsin. They don't close, they just burn down. There's 3 that I know of that burned down. And
only the good ones burn down, right?
Yeah, you'd start to see a pattern after a while. But he was playing with Richard Buckner, who's one of my favorite songwriters. And I went down there, and they played through 2 twin amplifiers. And I think they were both playing through 2 amps. I walked up to the bar, and there's this guy standing there with a leather sort of beige sports coat on. I thought, geez, that guy's in the band for sure. And and then maybe 5-6 years later, I hired him to start a tour duo of a record that I made in Iowa in 2006. And so we really got to know each other on the road in the Netherlands and Belgium and a couple other countries. And then we've been friends ever since. That was a long time ago. Billy Conway, the drummer, produced my wife's first 2 albums. So he was in a band called Morphine that was world famous in the 90s. And when Morphine was done playing because their lead singer died, Billy was running the studio that Mark had lived in, Mark, the lead singer of Morphine. And my wife made a couple records there, and Billy was the producer, and they were good friends. And I had a band project that I wanted to work on, and I asked my wife, who's the best drummer that we know? And she said, Billy Conway. Hands down. And so I sent him a letter, and I said, I have this record in mind. I want it to sound like halfway between Tonight's the Night by Neil Young and Ooh La La by The Faces. And he wrote me back. He said, those are my 2 favorite records, and I'll be there. So that was about 10 years ago. I needed somebody who could play bass with Billy Conway. Like most bass players, I think, if you got him to play with Billy, he would be very kind to them, but it would still be like pairing up a man and a small child in a potato sack race. So I knew that Mose had played. We call him Mose. His real name's Jeremy. I knew that Mose had played in Twine Men, which was a band that happened after Morphine, and I had met him on a gig that my wife was playing some years prior. So we all kind of knew each other. And then our friends Dusty Hart, we met at the Folk Alliance, which, though that sounds like a sinister organization, and it may be, what it really is just sort of a trade conference organization, and everybody shows up at a hotel. If you can picture like 3,000 folk musicians locked in a hotel for about 3 days, just the ambient sincerity is enough to kill a person. And anyways, we were there and they were there, and we were at the bar, and they were at the bar, and we started talking to them. Turned out they were from the Midwest. We were from the Midwest, and there's a lot of fiddle music and stuff, going around, and they couldn't figure out what was happening. We couldn't really either, and we all stayed at the bar talking. And then we had a show after the conference to help pay for the flights and stuff, and we said, do you want to drive down to about 2 hours south of here and open a show for us at this guy's house? And they said, yeah. And so we've been friends ever since. Billy and I played on a track on their new, their first record together, Dusty Hart. And I believe Eric played on a track. And they've been opening our album release tour out here. So that's why we're all traveling around together.
Well, I'm glad you brought them, because we had them on the White Wall Sessions, and everyone loves Dusty Hart. They're a great band.
They're fantastic, yeah.
So you mentioned your wife on every one of those players, at least the guys. Talk just a little bit about her. And you've got a project with her called Redbird, right?
Yeah. I mean, Redbird is a thing that it's like a defunct treehouse at this point. It was never really a band. It was just a collection of people who all played guitar and tried to remember the lyrics to songs. Her name is Chris Delmhorst, K-R-I-S. Delmhorst, German name. Not particularly euphonious, but easy to remember. And she and I met on a tour of England in, I think, 2002 or 3. And I could figure it out if I did the math. Don't get me wrong. I got it, but it's not coming to me right now. Anyway, we met on that tour, and it was a triple bill sort of Americana tour, mostly in England, partly in Wales, I guess. And yeah, we started talking on the airplane, and we never really stopped, and we got married about 8 months later, and we've been together ever since. And we made that Redbird record really just to go back to the UK and have something to sell. And we wanted to go back to Ireland, too, so we got a very expensive microphone, and we roped it to the ceiling of the apartment I lived in Wisconsin. So if anybody had too much beer, they wouldn't knock it over because it cost like $12,000. It's one of those old RCA canister mics, like the ones you see in the liner notes of a Crosby, Stills and Nash record. And we just sat down and played a bunch of songs. I think we recorded 40 or 45 songs, and we put about 15 on that little record. And what the record is really just a bunch of people sitting around. It's like a campfire.
1, 2, 3, 4.
If I saw you, would you know my name? If I saw you, would you know my name? I used to know you, I used to be your man. We were lovers in the traveling time. Blood brothers back when you were mine. Do you remember I was your Valentine? Stay to hold on to what we had. How could I know that I would live through my life haunted by your sad, sad smile? Sometimes I hold you in my dreams at night. I never told you, it never seemed right. I'll meet you somewhere on the other side. If I saw you, would you know my name? If I saw you, would you know my name? If I saw you.
Oh, thank you.
The White Wall Sessions is recorded at Last Stop Studios in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, and is produced by Spectrum Films Incorporated. Executive producers are Jeff Zuger, Doug Taylor, Greggy Johnson, and Jay Fishback. Head of broadcast is David Palmer. Associate producer is Mike Yeager. The White Wall Sessions Radio is produced and edited by Jeff Zuger. Audio recording and mixing by Kevin Phipps, Chad Conrad, August Dahlgren, and David Palmer. Scheduling and artist relations, Tom Eisner. Be sure to join us again next week. Same time, same place.
You are listening to the White Wall Sessions Radio.